Lights, camera, action.
And the winner is...
Welcome back to the Oscar Reel Movie Podcast Streaming Movie Edition. We've got an actual new movie.
A new movie?
Yes, in a world where we do the same thing every day, all day long. Movie theaters have been shut down for what feels like years. We actually have a new movie on our hands, Extraction on Netflix. It came out this past Friday, the 24th, April 24th. Directed by Sam Hargrave, written by Joe Russo, and stars Chris Hemsworth and David Harbour, among others as well. So this was, we talked about the trailer in our last in one of our last full episodes. In Netflix fashion, they usually release a trailer and then like a week or two later the movie comes out, which is kind of nice. You don't have don't have to wait too long for it.
Yep.
So
we have nothing better to do anyway, so it's like you don't need to give us much advance notice because we're all at home anyway.
Saw that trailer and went, yep, gonna watch that. So when we did the trailer park for this one, you said that you were not really looking forward to this movie and that you really had no intention on seeing it. How do you feel after seeing it?
I'm glad I watched it.
There you go.
It wasn't as dark, depressing, and gloomy as I thought it may have been. I was like, I don't need that kind of energy in my life, but actually it was a really good story.
Yeah, so we watched
And it doesn't mean there weren't some parts that were I definitely closed my eyes and avoided, but
no, I mean this is still an action movie and clearly rated R, so there's still a lot of like gory-ish moments in this. But yeah, we watched Chris Hemsworth was on Jimmy Kimmel.
Mm-hmm. And
they were kind of talking about the movie a little bit, and he had talked about how, he got the script, and he's like, hey, it's an action movie. I've done so many freaking action movies. I don't know if I need to do another one. But when he read the script, he saw that this movie actually had a little bit of heart to it, which I feel like people say that every once in a while when they're promoting their own movie. They're like, oh, no, but this one's different for this reason. It has heart. So you kind of take it with a grain of salt. But after seeing it, yeah, this movie definitely has some emotion to it. His character has depth. Like, it's more than just an action movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, the basic premise is he's like a mercenary for hire who's gone through some trauma in his life. He had a son who died when he was like 6 years old. But he gets hired to unkidnap the son of
unkidnap.
Yeah.
It's supposed to extract him.
Yes, that's the name of the movie. There you go.
Yes.
Extract this kid who is kidnapped by... He's the son of a drug lord who's in... his dad's in prison, but he's the son of a drug lord, and like a rival or competitor kidnapped his son, this kid, basically as like ransom or like something along those lines. And Chris Hemsworth, Tyler Rake, his character is hired to extract this kid and like get him out, so he's being paid to do so. It takes place in, is it Mumbai? It takes place in India.
Yes. Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, and part of it
or
is
in that area.
In Bangladesh too. It's the kid is from India, but yeah, like the rival drug lord is from Bangladesh. So there's scenes take place in both.
Yeah.
I think most of it takes place in Bangladesh.
So kind of a cool, different part of the world we don't really see in movies that much. I know like Slumdog Millionaire takes place in India, but other than that, not a lot of screen time like Hollywood-wise in this part of the country, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, a lot of action. One thing that I was not expecting from this movie is there's a couple like one-shot techniques in this movie where it's like some chase scenes, action scenes, and the director Sam Hargrave did some like one-shot techniques with it, which I was not expecting and was really cool. I don't know what you thought about that.
Yeah, no, it caught me by surprise because there wasn't any hint of it in like the trailer or anything, and
There was one scene in the trailer which I remember I pointed out was
like the second time you watched through it, you noticed
was like when the car is going in reverse and then he like spins it around, and as it's spinning the camera goes into the car. I saw that in the trailer and thought it was really cool. I had no idea that meant that a portion of this movie was going to be like a one-shot chase/fight scene.
Yeah, and it's, for me, because we kind of had to stop this movie partway through, just to take care of some other stuff, but...
Yeah, some friends called the Jerks. I was on video chat with them for what felt like years.
And so I had some time to just, like, kind of make some notes and think about stuff, and it was really interesting, like, comparing the continuous shot technique in this compared to how it played out in 1917. Obviously in 1917 that was like for the entire movie. Mm-hmm. But even though it's the same, basic technique, I felt like it gave two very different feels. And maybe you can say if you agree or disagree on this, but I feel like in 1917, like, it was much more of like a lyrical, like, composed kind of thing, and this was just like, oh my god, here's how fast all this action is happening, so let's just put you right in the middle of all of it. Like you said, like, here's this car, okay, now we're in the car, they're out of the car, okay, now someone else is getting hit by a truck, now this thing exploded. Like, it felt like you were, like, a first-person shooter, like, video game kind of thing is how you felt at some point. Like, it was like you were just, like, jostled in all of this action. So, like, 1917, where you just felt like, here's this, like, steady cam that's following this whole thing from, like, a distance. This was like, you're right in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely, I'm glad the whole movie wasn't like the one shot for Extraction. I like that it was like just this big like 12-minute action scene, because you're right, it kind of just puts you in the middle of it. Like you feel like you're to the left is like one guy and to the right is the other, and they're trying to like kill each other, and you're just caught in the middle. Like, it had that anxiety to it, which was great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was phenomenal. Was not expecting it. Pleasant surprise. It was great. Makes a lot of sense too, because this happened because Sam Hargrave, this is his first movie that he's ever directed. Mm-hmm. He is a former stunt coordinator and stunt man.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth was saying that in his Jimmy Kimmel thing, wasn't he?
Yeah,
that he'd been a stunt guy.
And yeah. I listened to an interview with Sam Hargrave, and he was Chris Evans' stunt double.
No way.
In the Avenger movies.
Ah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he was.
That's cool. That's really cool.
He was old Cap fighting like new Cap when
right,
the two Caps were playing each other. And his younger brother was like the younger Cap during that fight scene, so it was like two brothers were fighting each other.
Oh my god.
But
it's like weird to picture.
Yeah.
All of the back and forth there. Okay.
So he's America's ass.
Yeah.
Sam Hargrave.
Yeah. Okay.
But I love that it isn't really a trend yet, because I can only think of two people that have done it, but I hope it keeps continuing if we keep getting great movies out of it, where stunt coordinators or stunt men are directing movies. Because the other big example is the director of the John Wick movies.
Okay.
He was a former stunt coordinator and then is now like redefined the action genre. And then here's another case where Sam Hargrave, former stuntman, stunt coordinator, does an action movie, and he puts himself on the line to get these like shots. He's strapping himself to cars and stuff like that to get the right angle and get everything. And I think it's awesome that you get these people who, when their whole career is like action scenes and stunts, to have them do action movies just makes sense. And so far, so good on the product. Because I really enjoyed this movie, Extraction. When, the trailer came out, I was very excited for it. This is a time where we're not getting a lot of good, like, a lot of new content, new movies. I could see where, like, this movie could have not been good. This is just another prototypical action movie. But I think it was different. It wasn't just a straightforward new action movie. It had some emotion to it. And, the one-shot scenes made it a little different. And Chris Hemsworth was great in his performance. that I think this movie was really good, and it was even better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was better than I expected it to be, too. And it's... I think for me, like, the exciting parts were, you know, the action scenes. Like, everything just happened so quickly, and, you know, Chris Hemsworth's character, Tyler, just so skilled at everything. It was just, like, you know, it's just, like, so out of the realm of possibility, but it was really cool. It was just super entertaining.
Yeah, no, very much. So, we're probably going to get into some spoilers here, so I guess the last non-spoiler thing that happened, like, what score would you give this movie?
Oh, I didn't come up with a score before.
I'll give mine while you think about it. I'll give you a couple more seconds here. I would give this movie an 8 out of 10. I think just the action in it was great. It was a good enough story to like keep us engaged, and the performances were good. I think this is like just a good movie, if not just a good action movie. So I'd give it an 8. Really quickly, when we did the trailer park, the Rotten Tomatoes score on this was like in the 50s at the time.
That's right.
Right now, it's at a 62% for the critics and 70% for the audience. So, you know, the audience tend to like it a little bit more. And it's a 6.9 on IMDb right now. So, overall, I think it's, you know, getting decent to pretty good reviews, especially for like an action movie. So, yeah, did I talk long enough? Do you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny because I'm like, this movie is like maybe like high 7s, low 8s, and you said 8, and I was like, yeah, I completely agree. I think this movie is like a solid 8. No. But you gave me confidence that I was on the right track, so how about that? I'm more confident with my 8 saying that now than if I had gone first. How about that?
Okay.
But yeah, it was nice to see that, yeah, he had some heart and maybe kind of compelled him to do things, you know, maybe a little differently, just like his background with his own son, and now he's trying to get this, you know, young kid out of like a bad situation. So yeah, had a little bit more like heart to it, and the action scenes are just really good. So. Mm-hmm. And it was cool. We were saying this. It was cool to see Chris Hemsworth with like his native Australian accent. He's always doing different accents in movies, so I liked his Australian accent in this.
That's a good point. It was funny, like when we watched the Jimmy Kimmel interview, which was before we saw this movie. You're like, God, we never hear him in his Australian accent, and then boom, we see this movie and he plays like a guy from Australia, so he's just in his normal accent. So that was kind of cool. Yep. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, we're going to dive into the rest of the plot, so spoiler alert. I mean, if you haven't seen this, go see it. It's on Netflix. It's easy to get to. Everyone in the world has Netflix now, so just set aside, 2 hours and watch this. Pause this, and then come back to us and see if you agree with some of the stuff we say. So, yeah, he ends up going to India and extracting this kid and a bunch of phenomenal fight scenes. So he just takes out everyone, gets the kid out of there. The kid's former, like, what term were we using? Like, keeper? Like, he's a friend of his father's, and he's, like, keeps an eye on this kid. Yeah. He's the one that hired Chris Hemsworth to extract him. Yeah. He, like, tries taking out Chris Hemsworth and the rest of his team because he doesn't have the money to pay them. He just hired them to get the kid out because the kid's father is threatening to kill his family if he doesn't do this. Yep. So he kind of betrays them and tries taking them out because he can't pay them. So that's when like the big 12-minute one shot takes place, is when the two of them are chasing each other and fighting each other, and it was awesome. But the kid and Chris Hemsworth start building a bond because Chris Hemsworth, I think, starts seeing not necessarily his son in him, but like the idea of taking care of a kid. Yeah. Because throughout
the thought of like a father losing a son, I think, was like a big like motivation for him.
Yeah, because throughout this movie, there's a bunch of like child soldiers, and Chris Hemsworth doesn't he hurts them. Okay, he knocks them out. He throws them against cars. Like, he hurts them, but he doesn't kill them. Like, he's killing all the adult soldiers, but he isn't killing any of the kids. So he's got that sense of like, I lost a child, I don't want to kill a child, you know. Mm-hmm. So he really like and a lot of good emotional scenes from Chris Hemsworth. You see that he builds this bond with this kid, and even though his superiors are telling him to like either shoot the kid and leave him for dead or leave him behind and just get out of there because we're not getting paid, Chris Hemsworth goes, no, I'm going to save this kid because it's just the right thing to do. So that was where it gets a little deeper and you get a little more emotion than you probably get in like traditional action movies, you know? So yeah, that's where I really thought this movie was different in a good way. So I don't know. Do you have any other opinions on that aspect of it?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well.
David Harbour shows up, quote unquote, to help Chris Hemsworth, but kind of betrays him in the end. But really, I mean, by the end of the movie, Chris Hemsworth ends up working with that caretaker of the child who like betrayed them, because they both want the same thing. They both want to save the kid, and Chris Hemsworth, Tyler Rake, realizes that he needs his help. So they end up working together. And one thing I thought, so there's a scene where the caretaker and the kid are trying to get across the bridge and get to the helicopter to safety.
Mm-hmm.
And he puts on this like tarp or whatever, like he covers his face, you know, and his hood and everything. You know what I'm talking about? Like he puts on like a hood.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All I could think of is we just watched the Fantastic Four 2015. I'm like, God, he looks like that shitty version of Doctor Doom.
Right.
Just wearing a garbage bag on his head. But in the end, the kid survives. He gets rescued, but Tyler and the caretaker essentially get killed. And but there is like one scene at the very end where, so the movie opens with Tyler jumping from a cliff. It's in the trailer. He jumps from a cliff and he like sits underwater and like kind of meditates. At the end of the movie, the kid Ovi is back in school. It's like 8 months later. He built a bond with Tyler as well. Like he, you know, was crying when he saw him essentially get killed. And he climbs up on a diving board, jumps into a pool, and does the same thing where he like meditates underwater. But when he surfaces, he turns to the right, and you see this, you know, he looked like it was Tyler. You see this person in the distance who's like standing kind of by the pool. And Ovi turns his head to the right, and that's when the movie ends. Yeah,
and the guy's like out of focus. So we even went back and just like because the guy was out of focus, like, wait, is that Tyler? Who is that? What is that supposed to be?
Yeah. So who do you think? Because Tyler gets shot multiple times, including through the neck, by one of the kid soldiers that he spared earlier in the movie. Mm-hmm. It's this kid that ends up shooting him in the neck, and Tyler falls off a bridge into the river, and that's the last you see of him. So what do you think? Is that Tyler at the end?
It's weird because you think like there's no way he could have survived like getting shot through the neck like that. Like he jumps off this bridge in the water. Like there's no way. But I don't know who else that would have been unless it's like it's Ovi's kind of like imagination of him. Like it's not actually physically Tyler there, but maybe it's just like the memory of him.
I think those are the two arguments.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be Tyler no matter what, but it's just whether it was like imagination or reality.
Okay. All right. What do you think?
And I think Sam Hargrave is leaving that unanswered because he wants it to be like a debate.
Oh, of course, yeah. It's like Inception. People still can't make up their minds about the end of that movie.
No. So that's different.
Oh, okay.
Because Christopher Nolan came out and said, I'm pretty sure Christopher Nolan came out and said that was real.
Okay. I never knew that.
Yeah. Like, he said in the end it doesn't matter because it's just Leo accepted whatever reality he's in and wants to be with his kids. But I'm pretty sure Christopher Nolan came out and said, like, that's real life at the end.
Okay. Good. That makes me feel better.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm like that where I'm an optimist. I like happy endings more than ambiguous or, like, sad ones. So I'm going with it is him because I want it to be.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they built this bond. They basically were like a father and son type in that little time, you know, they spent together. So I just want it to be him, so I'm going to say it is him.
Yeah. One last thing I just wanted to add about, like, the character of Tyler. Like, you know, obviously, like, he's a badass. He knows what he's doing, but you really know he's a badass because when he tries treating his own wounds, he just opens everything up with his teeth.
Yeah.
That's, like, number one sign of badass in action movies. Oh, I'm injured. I'll treat myself, but I'll open everything with my teeth because that's what I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That always just makes me chuckle a little bit. I'm like, really? Okay, fine.
They made a there's always a bigger fish reference in this movie, which just always makes me think of the freaking Phantom Menace. They're going through the planet core.
Yeah.
And a big fish eats the bigger fish eats the other one that's chasing them, and Qui-Gon goes, there's always a bigger fish. I'm like, great, cool, love the Star Wars reference.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
So, people are listening at this point. You've either seen it or didn't really care that we spoiled it to you, but, tweet us at OscarReelPod and, Twitter, Instagram, send us messages. Tell us what you thought about the ending. I think it was Tyler, real life Tyler, not imagination. So let us know what your thoughts were on that. And, check out Extraction if you haven't.
Mr.